What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Allsmith. Today, I am pumped. I feel like I'm chopping it up with a brother. He's turned into a friend. We've crossed paths a few times. He's an athlete turned adventurer. He's an entrepreneur. He played in the NHL for 13-ish years, and he's the founder of World Playground. He's rewriting the way we book travel. And I'm excited to talk about the ins and outs and everything in between with Brooks. Laich, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Bryce, buddy. Excited to chat. We just chatted, for your listeners, Bryce and I just chatted for like 15 minutes before we just started recording. And I don't know where we're going to go today. It's going to be a river and it's going to be winding, but I know that we're going to have a great conversation. I know you do that. You look for the corners and the edges and the dark spots in your conversations, and I'm excited to go there with you today.
Yeah, man. It was really a pleasure to chop it up a little bit, and I know a little bit about your story. But first and foremost, man, just to mention right there of a river, right? Like the two things that stand out most to me. Number one, congratulations. You're now a new father. I think that has to be such a blessing. Planet. Congratulations to you and Kat. Huge. But also, like, now that you are a father, you're observing your daughter and looking at children in nature, going back to that reference of the river. It's just, those are the two things that bring us back. We're in pursuit of, in your case, the NHL. In my case, trying to be the best basketball player I could possibly be. But anytime we fall off course, man, nature and children bring us back. Yeah. What's it been like for you, man? Like, I see that ear-to-ear smile. Like, what's it been like for you being a father and being such an adventure and connecting with nature? Like, how does that bring you back when the world seemingly kind of tugs at the imaginary leash?
Both are wonderfully resetting in different ways. I love nature. I am a nature guy. I'm in nature every single day, but so I'll come back to that. I love my daughter more. Our daughter is 8 months old. She is the light of my life. Her mom is my favorite person on the planet, which you just, when we were talking before, Bryce, you said your partner is your favorite person on the planet. I feel the same way. Kat is my favorite person on the planet. And if I had one dream, it would be to marry her, which we're doing later this summer, and then to have a baby girl just like Kat. And then I would have my cat and then a baby cat, and I'd have my two favorite people on the planet to play with. And I got a baby cat. And launching my company, all the things I'm involved with now, my days are fast and busy. But the morning is slow, and I spend it with Emberly in my arms, and she sits in my arms as I eat breakfast with Kat. And then in the evening, it's slow as well. And the ability to just pick my daughter up before and then after a long, hard day of work just completely resets me as a human, as a man, as a father, as a partner, as a businessman, as in every facet. And it does that for me. It just reminds me what is most important in life. And it's Kat, it's Emberly, it's our dog Coda, it's our home, it's peace in our home. And then after that, everything else comes after that. And I also get a similar feeling or recalibration from being in nature. I get that when I hike our dog up in the Idaho hills every day. I get that when I go out on the boat to fish for 30 minutes or an hour, just in silence. I think it's very important for people to do something that recalibrates them and brings them back. Life is fast, life is busy, life is hectic. We have duties, responsibilities, people. We are being pulled on left, right, and center. But it's important to do something that grounds you, slows you down, and really reminds you, like, what is the most important things in life. And yes, my daughter, my family, Kat, nature, those are probably the two most grounding things. I need those in my life every day.
So beautifully said, man. The thing that stands out to me about you is grounding. You're so grounding, and I almost think about just like an anchor. I think a little bit about like a lighthouse, where so many people in the world, like you said, are getting pulled left, right, center, up, down, everything in between. Like we live in a world that's full of distraction, especially with these little computer boxes that hang out in our back pocket. How have you developed the ability to be such a stable resource for your family, for your business, for yourself. Because to give people the analogy of the lighthouse, it's like a boat or a ship can be out at sea dancing around, getting pushed, pulled, tossed around by the waves and the wind. But then you see the lighthouse, and it gives you a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Being able to have that anchor and kind of root yourself, inevitably knowing that the storm is going to come. How have you been able to anchor yourself like that in these different chapters and seasons of your life?
Great question, Bryce. As you asked me that, I have a couple things I'm processing. First, because I also agree with you, and I also have a side of me that disagrees with the anchoring thing, and I have a story around that too that I'll share. Initially, I do think I'm to pat myself on the back, a stable, reliable. I understand who I am. I very much understand who I am, and I think I also have a very good understanding of what means the most to me. And I get to say my vows to Kat this summer, and one of the vows I say to her will be, I promise I will always build us a great life, keeping you and our family at the center of it. So I understand that, and I know who I am. I'm not chasing a new version of me. Yes, I'm trying to improve as a man every day, but I love who I am. I love where I'm at. I love going through life with Kat and the family we're building and what we're working toward together. So I'm rooted and grounded in that, and I'm happy in the present. I'm always happy. Doesn't mean challenge isn't present in our life. Challenge is everywhere in our life, daily in our life, but it's challenge we choose, right? As entrepreneurs, we choose this challenge. I work for myself. We'll build something. We'll create circumstance in the world. I'll bet on ourselves. I'll bet on us to create and develop an impact, so there's a lot there, but ultimately I know who I am. I have a great support system with my parents, my brother and sister, my best friends, and ultimately also my fiance. So that's one side of life. The other side, as you say the word anchor, it brings back a story. So as much as I feel rooted, I also feel like I'm going down a river. And this comes from a moment in my life, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more as we unpack transitioning from an athlete to what's next in life. Do you know a gentleman named Steve Weatherford?
I do. I know Steve.
Yeah, so Steve is a friend, and we did a few events together when I used to live in LA. And Steve challenged me one time. And he goes, Brooks, I have a challenge for you. Because he was a former athlete. He was an NFL kicker, Super Bowl champion. For anybody that doesn't know, Steve's a wonderful man, does a lot in the inspiration and fitness space now as well. And he had crossed from athlete to next life before I had. So he had already crossed this bridge. And he goes, Brooks, I have a challenge for you. He goes, right now I see you as a boat in a river with an anchor down. And you're trying to fight the river. And my challenge for you is to pull your anchor and let the river of life take you where it may. And Bryce, my first response was like, F you, Steve. And I was like, because he was so right. But I was like, I was mad at, I still wasn't over being an athlete. I hadn't accepted the end of my career. I hadn't accepted moving on. Just, I was stuck. And he saw it as a boat. He saw me as a boat anchored in a river. And he's like, you just got to pull the anchor and let the current of life just take you.
Wow.
And I feel like you've done that.
Yeah.
I feel like I've done that. And so, yes, you still have your identity of who you are as a human being, but also open yourself up to the unknown and where the world is going to take you, and not just planning every single step along the way, but being open to spontaneity, opportunity, curiosity, just discovery, just anything, while still maintaining who you are.
This episode is brought to you by Allsmith. If you've been listening for a while, you know this is bigger than just workouts. At Allsmith, fitness is the vessel. Life is the true mission. We help people upgrade not just their body, but their routines, their mindset, their energy, their confidence, their relationships, and their overall direction. Some people work with us in person through coaching, through accountability, through movement, through community, and through real human connection. Others choose to work with us online from anywhere in the world through customized programming, lifestyle design, habit building, check-ins, support, and a system built around your actual life. Because the goal isn't perfection. The goal is creating a life that feels aligned, resilient, energized, and truly sustainable. If you feel stuck, if you've been putting yourself absolutely last in all the things in your to-do list, if you want support, structure, accountability, and community that genuinely gives a damn, Allsmith might be your next step. Movement is the entry point. Your peak expression is the destination. Head over to allsmith.co or shoot me a message on Instagram @TheRealBryceSmith, or shoot a message to our team @AllSmithCo, and let's build something beautiful. Dude, that is beautiful.
Steve nailed it.
Yeah, Steve nailed that for sure. Because, dude, I fought that for so long. I mean, my last time competing really was 2019. The last time at the games was 2018. Last time competing was 2019. And I kept trying to hang on. And it's like the body was not really responding like it used to. My performance was not near the incredible feats that people are doing now with how much they lift and how fast they're operating in certain workouts. Like, huge shout out to the CrossFitters out there. Like, that sport is just it's brutal, man, and they're impressive. But dude, I kept trying so hard. I was like, life was telling me to pull the anchor up, and I was like, no, I'm in this environment. I'm going to put the anchor deeper. I'm going to wedge it between rocks. It's like, it's so funny because you don't really know what you don't know at the time. And it sounds like cliche of like, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always be what you've always been. You're like, yeah, I'm trying to evolve, but I keep doing the same shit over and over again. And I can't, the boat's not moving. Why is the boat not moving? And you're like, the boat's not moving because of me. Yeah. And it's like a painful, like, you got to swallow the pill for a second, look yourself in the mirror. And it's not until you accept the fact that you have to let go a little bit. You have to surrender. And confidence is not like, I know what to do and I know how to figure it out. It's whatever happens, I have the confidence that I can ask for help. I have the confidence that we'll figure it out when we get there. And we're going to make humor the default emotion. We're not going to get mad if the boat flips or something happens. Like, if we fall, we're going to like make it fun and we'll figure it out. We'll turn it into a great freaking memory and maybe try to catch some fish while we're at it.
Yeah. Dude, but can I unpack that for a second? Because what you said was so spot on. I resonate very much with it. I also think the reason that was a difficult stage for you was a difficult stage for me, anybody else that crosses from one career into a potential next or an unknown, the attributes that made you exceptional are now the shadows are showing up in a shadow side. Right? When life got hard, when training got hard, when workouts got hard, you pushed back. You didn't just accept it. You pushed back. You're like, no, I'm in. I'll dig in. I'll root in right here. And I will push back and I will overcome and I will succeed. Now, when life throws you something that you can't, like when now all of a sudden you're in a transition in life, you go to the same characteristics you've had. That shows up, but now it prevents you from moving further in life. And I only discovered this myself. The things that were my best attributes as an athlete hurt me for a brief time until in my transition from athlete to, we call it first retirement as athletes, in my transition from first retirement to my next career. The things that were my best attributes really stood in my way in that transition period until I understood that. Like, I had a 9-month period after I had retired where I didn't say I retired, I was released. General manager said, we're sending you to the minors. We got to see if 2 kids can play. And I'm like, Rob, you know I can play. I'm a 35-year-old man. You know I can play. I've been in this league for 13 years. You know I can play. And he goes, I know. We got to see if 2 kids can play. And then contract just went like that. So I didn't say I retired. The next 9 months, I didn't mentally retire. I didn't physically retire. I'm like, I'm going to push back at this because any time in my career I had been challenged, I had pushed back. Same with you. Same with anybody who's competitive. But then it comes to a circumstance in life where the pushback isn't the actual answer. It's the release. It's the acceptance. It's the understanding and the composure. And for some of us, it takes longer. guilty. For
Dude,
some of us, it
I
takes
really
a long
appreciate
time
you
to
sharing that.
understand.
Yeah,
You know,
sometimes it takes a long time. It took me almost 3 years, man.
Yeah.
And it was partially because like my place of training was also my place of employment. So it's like having that within arm's reach. I'm like, well, I think I can go do that. I can go play. And like every now and then, you know, 1 out of 7 or 10 workouts, it's like you get a couple of the young bucks and you're like, I still got it. And then all of a sudden you get home and you're like limping for 5 days. You're like, that wasn't smart. I shouldn't have done that. And it's funny because what I'm hearing from you, Brooks, which is so spot on, is how you go from A to B is not necessarily how you go from B to C.
Oh, it's so different.
And it's interesting because, like, to echo what both of us is saying, as an athlete, self-reliance is everything. You know, I leave my emotions at the door. I walk in and I go to work. My job's to put the ball in a hoop. My job is to communicate, show up on time, give my best effort. If something didn't go that way, like I could just put in more reps. Like it's a game of numbers and probability. I could put in more reps. I can practice my mechanics. I can get my legs really tired and then perform in a very fatigued state where it becomes unconscious competence, where you're able to do the thing with your eyes closed in the midst of extreme adversity. Doesn't matter what's happening in your personal life, the crowd, like they pay you to do a thing, you're going to do the thing. And eventually it gets to the point in the next chapter where you're like, wow, I have the desire to have a wife and to grow a business and all these things. Like if I don't draw appropriate boundaries and I don't manage my obsessive compulsive work ethic and I don't let things breathe, then inevitably it's constant chaos. And the analogy that I would give, which I learned from Laird Hamilton early on in the podcast journey when I went up and spent some time with him, is he saw me fighting the dumbbells in the water to try to like really persevere the way I did in CrossFit. And he was like, Bryce, like when you're in the water and you're fighting, it's bubbles everywhere, it's splashing, it's chaos. He's like, your eyes and your nervous system get no clarity. But when you surrender to the movement and optimize your biomechanics and you seek flow over resilience and over forcing, inevitably the movement pattern gets easier. And I was just like, dang, the same way Steve Weatherford hit it for you, like Laird hit the nail on the head for me, where I was like, whoa, you want me to surrender and not fight? I've never done that, and it's never worked for me before. How am I supposed to create compliance now, dude?
Yeah, you lean on, like, especially in difficult times or testing times, you lean on your best skill sets. Right? You go back to the root of who you were, but that doesn't always mean that that's the best set of skills for that scenario. And in fact, it's quite the wrong one, which you were just saying, like Laird was teaching you to be easy, flow, instead of fight harder and push. And that's what I went through too in my first retirement. I'm like, I'm going to push hard. I'm going to outtrain this feeling of like failure or being released. You didn't release me. You did like, I'm like, oh, it took 9 months and it was a black hole for 9 months. And then it's like, oh, I got to be a little more gentle. I got to figure something else. I got to release this beast. Steve, isn't it fun? Like Laird pegged you, Steve pegged me. When somebody just pokes you right in the chest with a comment and you're like, oh, wow, who you got.
And you know what's so funny is like when they got me good, my stubborn ass still didn't, I kept fighting. And you know where he got me? He put me in the cold tub. And I sort of did the cold tub, like, you know, in athletics to manage inflammation for old school research and all the things they used to say and like, you know, the rehab facilities and whatnot. But Laird was like, we did sauna and we were like screwing around in there with the assault bike and oven mitts and all kinds of things early on, just being like innovative kids, like trying to figure it out while we're like burning our inner thighs on the metal of the bike and whatever. And he's like, get your ass in there. And like, I get my ass in there and like, I'm like freaking out. And like, I know all the optimizers and biohackers are talking about, you know, this, that, and the other, all the benefits of cold plunge. For me, dude, it was just like surrender, man. Like you have your breath. You can't fight the ice. You can't like do all these things to try to get this huge win in the cold. You just have to be.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, I end up crossing paths with Deepak Chopra, and he looks at me and he's like, Bryce, you're a human doing. Like, you always want to do. You always want to perform and pursue. He's like, but we're human beings. Do you know how to just be with yourself? That flipped the switch again for me, where I was like, whoa, I don't actually like my own company. I'm always distracted with workouts or a phone or music or something. And like, that's why I loved when you talked about going on the boat in silence, taking the dog for a walk, getting in the mountain in silence. And it wasn't until years later where I like kind of tapped into my feminine a little bit. I was like overly masculine, like everything was right angles, like force everything. And
I get you.
It wasn't working anymore. And eventually it was just like, you know what? Being and working in is just as important as working out. But I was like, I've never done this before. So I have to surrender to being a white belt and a rookie in this space. And it was the greatest transformation I've ever experienced.
Welcome to just being a human, right? Like there's no perfect human. There's nobody that's nailed it. There's just like, we're all trying to figure it out. And life is such a journey. That's the beauty of it. Like, life is such a journey. Reflection is a powerful tool. Having support system and people around you. Somebody, your encounter with Deepak Chopra, just having him see you in a certain way. Gifts are just endless, right? And credit to you for receiving them. I think people really end up struggling if they aren't really end up struggling in perpetuity, potentially, if they aren't receptive or aren't receiving of something that challenges their norm. And you can bring that set of skills. You still, undoubtedly, Bryce, you still have you want to tap into it. First of all, you can tap into that alpha, that like super powerful version of you, but you don't have to live there. You don't have to apply it to every single thing you do. You can soften. And I've learned that, like with my daughter, with my fiance. I still want, there's times in the gym where I still want to test myself. I still want to know that I'm sharp. I still want to know that I'm about it, right? If I want to be, but I don't have to live there. And I think as athletes, in our athlete stage, man, there's no such, you want to be best in the world at something. There's no such thing as balance. There's no such thing as like, it is a measured form of insanity to do that. And the attributes that can make you great in the arena can very, very, very much punish you in personal life, in relationship. So it's just it's a balance of like, when does this, and then I think as we get older, we get a little more composure, and we look at the assets that we have or characteristics that we possess as tools to apply to a certain job, and then stop using that tool for a second, then apply this other one here and then here. And we're able to turn off and on rather than living just one way. And I think when we're younger, we're wired. When I was younger, man, I was just wired one way. I got the nickname Brow Down Brooksy from my teammates because we were here to win. I wanted to win I wanted to win multiple Stanley Cups. That's the only reason I'm here, is to win. And I need you, and I need you, and I need you. And if I see you slacking, I'm going to call you on it. We're going to push, and we're going to work, and it's going to be every day. And it was in November. The hockey season runs October to April, and then playoffs are after that. And it was in November, not even 2 months into the season. My coach called me into the office one day, and he goes, Brooks, you got to lighten up. You're not going to have any friends by Christmas. My coach told me that. And I was like, I was just wired one way. And I was just like, oh, I got to know when to turn it on and then soften. And like, but how do you walk that line with also wanting to win a championship?
Totally.
Right. And so, I had to learn when to apply a tool and when to back off, and then when to ramp up the intensity and when to back off. And still am, honestly, and don't get it right, half the time.
This episode of All Smith is brought to you by our friends over at Kalo and their new smart ring. I've been wearing the Kalo smart ring the past few months, and I love how simple it is. It seamlessly fits within my lifestyle and is not invasive into any elements of my life. It tracks my sleep, my movement, my heart rate, my HRV, my stress, my body temperature, and it gives you real awareness around your lifestyle and how it's impacting your recovery and performance. What makes it perfect for me is simply the versatility. I can wear it while coaching, while training, while working, while sleeping, or just living life, and it quietly collects the data in the background. And the best part, is it's under $200 and there's zero subscription. No monthly fees, no gimmicks, just clean, affordable health tech. Head over to kalo.com/allsmith and use code allsmith at checkout to get your discount. You can also find it at select Walmart stores and at walmart.com. Now let's get back to the show. It's the art of the human experience. It's understanding that we're so malleable. Something that came up for me as you were describing that is, you've probably met people like this, and I was probably like this at one point. You may have responded this way to your coach. Coach, that's just the way I am. And I think the learning lesson there is like, no, that's the way you're choosing to be. Mm-hmm. And you can be that way sometimes, but as long as you're malleable, and if you can be spongy and kind of feel the energy and the body language and read more than, hey, we're just trying to get to the Stanley Cup, and understand that in order to get to the Stanley Cup, there's going to be peaks, there's going to be valleys, and everything in between. And like you said, I'm going to need you. I'm going to need you. You couldn't do it by yourself. So as a byproduct, you were almost setting a standard to make them meet you where you were at. But what you softened to and what you learned is like, yeah, you can do that some of the time. And then some of the time you can lower the standard, for lack of a better analogy, and actually meet them where they're at. And then maybe there's a personal side of things of like, you get to know their world, where they like to eat, what they like to do, what their hobbies are, what their family is like. And then that builds that foundational trust. So then when you do get to that place of like, hey, I need you to rise up, I need you to level up right now, they trust who you are and why you're doing it, and knowing that it comes from a place of love rather than a place of judgment. What are your thoughts on that malleable, cognizant mindset, and using that not just as a hockey player, but now as a husband, a father, and a businessman?
That was very insightful. I appreciate that last minute you just said, because as you were saying that, I was thinking, I'm glad you asked the question, because I was thinking this. I was trying to force them into my way of approaching the game. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't conversing with them and discussing, what is your way of approaching the game to get the best out of you? It was fit into my block, do it my way. And how am I going to do that across 23 guys on a hockey team? Yeah, right? Tough. It's not going to happen. And now today in my relationship, like I can't be the one that just solely governs the relationship, and this is how we do it. There's times where I might lead. There's areas in our relationship where I might be stronger. There's areas where she's going to be stronger. But I very much learned it through that journey, that when I got the nickname Brow Down Brooksy, that okay, I had to meet other people with where they were. And I think the best for both of us is a combination of like, what works for me, what works for you, and where can we meet on that? And where can I also trust? That was another one for me, is trust. Trust in your teammates. Trust that they will do their job that's required of them. Trust. And it might not be the way that I would do it, but I'm also doing it the way that they wouldn't do it. And if I want their trust, I need to also give that trust and respect back. So, I
like that line right there. Typically what we desire is hidden in what we're either giving or not giving. And usually what we give away comes back. So it's very interesting the way you said that.
Yeah, it's really powerful to go through a transition of being a young guy, seeing veteran guys, becoming a more experienced person, becoming one of the experienced, becoming a leader of an organization, like just that whole journey, to bring all of that with you, to learn from those who came before you, to learn and see those coming behind you. Yeah, and the trust thing too is, the trust is paramount in everything, whether you're a team, whether you're an organization, whether you're a company, whether you're a relationship. Trust is the number one thing. I don't want to do Bryce's job. I need to trust that Bryce will do his. Bryce needs to trust that I'll do mine. And we might have differing skills, but we're working toward a common goal, right? Yeah. And we might have differing approaches. Some players needed to be mentally light. They needed to goof around. They needed to be, like you said earlier, keeping the humor at the center of things. Humor is going to be the default, right? Some players were like that. I was a wired in guy. I'm like, why are we laughing right now? It wasn't until I'd been in the league. I'd been in the league 10 years. I'm like, oh, I can work hard and have fun at the same time. But it took me a decade to learn that. Some guys could come into league. I had one teammate, Bryce, his name was Mike Green. He was 2 years younger than me. And you just didn't know if Mike would know what time the game was or when practice was or anything.
He was Dennis Rodman.
And it was, I'm actually watching Last Dance right now. It's so good. And I used to call it this. I was like, he lives with a blissful ignorance. Mm-hmm. It doesn't bother him. I'm like, can you imagine a life not with intensity and not being bothered? But then when the game was on, man, could he play? Man, could he play? And it was all world, and like, holy cow. But how was his approach so different than mine, but the result be exceptional?
Yeah.
And so I think we get in trouble when we just get rooted in our own ways. And it took me a decade to learn this. And now I'm like, I just want to observe people. I want to observe how they do it. And there's so many different ways to accomplish the same goal.
Spot on, man. I mean, it's so fascinating now because like you, I was more wired early on. It wasn't until later when I was like kind of feeling the edges of burnout where I was like, you know what? Like somebody gave me this analogy, like when you hold on to something this tight, like you can only hold so much sand. But when you loosen your grip a little bit, you can kind of hold a little bit more and hold a little bit more sand. And I was just so tightly wound. It was like show up early, get shots up, get into the training room. Nutrition was dialed in. I never drank a beer or anything when I was competitive. Like bedtime was so rigid. Everything was neurotically systematic. And it just got to the point where that rigidity almost became consequence, where it was like, because there wasn't ebb and flow, it almost served as this weight vest that I had to carry around. Like if it didn't go the way I had planned, like I was going to play bad, or if I didn't sleep good, it was like, it's like a data tracker when you look at your Whoop score, your Kalo ring score, and you're just like, oh, my HRV is this and my recovery score sucks, so I'm going to have a bad day. And it wasn't until, like you said, like a decade into the game where you're like, that's just a reference point. Like, who knows the accuracy of that? I feel great, and I had 3 beers last night, and we're just going to go get after it and keep on pushing. It's all good.
I think that's just composure that comes with time.
Yeah.
That's just experience. I was smiling and like laughing internally as you were saying that, because I'm like, there's somebody else that has been through what I've been through that feels the same way, that understands and knows it. And I was like, wow, he is literally describing my first 10 years in the NHL.
Yeah.
And then when I look back at my career, I'm like, man, the most fun I ever had playing was from the age of 30 on. Because like I said, there were tools I could turn. Okay, we're at practice. Let's go. We're on. Right? Practice ends. Let's goof around. Let's have fun. We can't win the game tomorrow night right now. So why do I have to be so intense right now? So I think then a lot of the joy, I was a lot more present from the age of 30 plus. I even had capacity for life outside of the rink, where my whole life was inside the rink. Then I could compartmentalize life in the rink, and then I could compartmentalize personal life. And personal life did not subtract from life in the rink. In fact, it enhanced it. But that only came with composure. Composure is one of my favorite things. Yeah. One of my favorite things to study, one of my favorite things to witness in other athletes. And I'll watch athletes. I'm like, oh, the composure in that moment is just wild. I have such an appreciation for composure.
This episode is supported by Allsmith Apparel. And honestly, this isn't just merch. It's a reminder that growth is forged, not found. That discipline is care. That consistency is freedom. That community is medicine. We created Allsmith for the people chasing something deeper than just aesthetics. People building businesses, healing, starting over, showing up tired, but showing up anyway. People truly seeking edges. When you wear Allsmith, you're not just wearing a logo. You're wearing a mindset, a conversation starter, a flag for people who believe movement, mindset, adversity, and intentional living can help shape a beautiful life. We are Allsmiths. Check out our latest apparel drops and our Allsmith apparel at allsmith.co. And thank you for helping us build this thing together. I mean, speaking of composure, there's that scene in The Last Dance where MJ is out golfing and he keeps betting with the guy and they're out there drinking beers and MJ keeps losing and he keeps betting. And finally he's like, hey man, I got to go. And they give an anecdotal like interview with the other gentleman that was playing golf with MJ. And he's like, dude, MJ was like 18 beers deep. And then like somehow found his way to the game, dropped 40, lost 20 grand on the golf course. And I was just like, how does this guy do it? Like after 18 beers going against, the best athletes in the world, I was like, holy moly, the composure, the focus. And also it probably lowered his level of neuroticism and allowed him to just go be more childlike, which I'm not condoning that behavior, but I'm also noticing it and observing it and being like, okay, I guess it's kind of possible.
Do you remember when Conor McGregor fought Floyd Mayweather?
Yeah.
Remember that whole like coming from different worlds and is Conor going to knock him out? Nobody can like Floyd's his defense is impregnable, everything. If you watch the interviews after, because Conor came out just throwing haymaker, trying to he's like, I'm going to land a bomb and knock this guy out. And if you watch his interview, Conor's interview after the fight, Mayweather won. He goes, he's so composed. Which Mayweather just knew how to block, and he could take like punches and he could take an onslaught and never like expose himself. And I love championship athletes. I love greatness. I love those who are wildly composed. And now we're seeing it more in younger athletes. I see younger athletes on bigger stages across the board. And I'm like, how are they so composed at this young age? And same with parents. Like I have my brother and sister were younger parents than I am. My fiance's siblings are younger parents than we are. And I'm like, how are they so composed? So composed at that age. It's one of my favorite things to observe and witness. It's something I have the utmost respect for.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it comes from upbringing, coaches, lifetime reps. I had this high school basketball coach that used to like really emphasize to us. He'd say, never get too high, never get too low. And that's something almost like tattooed on my mind, where I'm just like, you know what, this needs to like stay here for a lifetime. But I also think it comes from upbringing. And you mentioned briefly like growing up in a really small town. How do you pronounce it? I'm going to try. Saskatchewan?
Wawota is the name of the town, so Wawota, and then Saskatchewan is our province. So Wawota, Saskatchewan, when I grew up there, it's only about 620 people. Very small community. Our school was K-12, about 130 kids. We didn't even have 12 teachers. Some grades were combined up to like grade 8 was a little bit combined, 1 and 2, 3,
wow.
4 kind of thing. Yes. It was a very small community. My grad class had 9 boys and 7 girls in it. There was a grad class a few years after. I remember there was a grad class that came through that had 7 boys and 1 girl in the class. It's just,
wow.
But I would never change my childhood. I just went on a fishing trip with my dad to northern Saskatchewan last week. And I was like, I would never change my childhood for a single thing ever. We were wild and free. We could do whatever we wanted. Our best friends, getting married this summer, like the people that are coming to my wedding are those same friends from growing up in from Wawota, Saskatchewan. Wherever the world has taken me, those are still my best friends on the planet.
Yeah.
I would never change my childhood for anything in the world.
It's funny you say that, man. Like I didn't grow up in a place like that. I grew up in the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles, and my high school graduating class, I think, had 500 something people in it. And I went to the same high school as Ice Cube and Eazy-E. I was like the only white kid on the basketball team. It was funny. But same thing. Like we grew up in a cul-de-sac, and like the same people that we grew up with, they're like lifelong friends. Like we have depth of just like hide and go seek and kicking a soccer ball and figuring out life and razor scooters and screwing around on skateboards and falling off bikes and being mad at each other and, getting scared over certain things, blockbuster movie nights, trying to beat each other in Mario Kart, like the really old school stuff where it was like no cell phones, just like you knew where everybody was because you saw all the bikes in the front yard. and you just had to make it home when the street lights came on in order to have dinner, or as you would say, supper.
Supper, yeah, I say supper. Dinner for us in Saskatchewan is at noon. So we have breakfast, we have dinner at noon, and then at supper.
That's funny.
We used to eat dinner. Lunch. You guys would say lunch. We used to eat dinner together as a family.
Oh,
My dad was a principal of the school. My mom was an RM administrator, and they lived, like, the school was 3 blocks from the house. Mom's work was 2.5 blocks from the house. We would just walk home, and my brother, my sister, my mom, dad, myself, we would eat lunch together as a family, and then the 4 of us would walk back to school. My brother, sister, my dad, and I would walk to school, and Mom would walk 2 blocks with us and then hang a left, and she'd go to her work. And so I didn't grow up eating at a cafeteria. It was just I just thought that's what everybody did. And then as I got older, it's like, whoa, you guys ate lunch at school? What? I didn't even know about that.
That's cool.
It's just a different life. Yeah.
Where are you? Like, are you the youngest? Are you the oldest? Where are you with your brother and sister?
Middle.
Right in the middle.
Older sister, younger brother. Yeah. You have siblings?
Yeah, so I'm the youngest. I've got an older sister and an older brother. But similar to you, 1 of 3. Definitely very fascinating to see the parallels, man. What was it like growing up in such a small town, and what were some of the value systems that your parents instilled that you still, like, reach in your back pocket to access now?
Growing up in the small town is the best thing in the world. Like I said, I would never change it for anything in the world. Let me discuss, like, a few reasons why. 1, your best friends. We had 9 boys in our class. It wasn't like you had 500. We had 9. You went from kindergarten to grade 12 with these kids. Like, so I didn't know life without these friends. I did not know life without these friends. So every stage of life, successes, failures, and all along the way, it's been walked with the same group of people. So there's that aspect of it, the best friends in the world. From a professional standpoint, from a hockey standpoint, every small community in Canada, even if you're 600, you have a rink. Every small community in Canada has a rink, and we got to play hockey every day. I would skate before school. I'd walk to the rink. I had a key to the rink by the age of 12, and I could open up the rink, go and skate, go back home, eat breakfast, go to school, come back home after school, go to the rink, and skate, because we didn't have an arcade in town. We didn't have a shopping. We had nothing else but a skating rink. So all you did with your friends was just spend time on the ice, and in that way you just spent so much time playing the sport that you just developed so many fundamentals: your edge work, your hands, your proprioception, knowing what bodies are moving through space, how much time you have, where the gap is, where they're gonna, like, who's behind you, who's coming. You're developing all of these things. And my province actually has the highest per capita, produces the highest amount of NHL players per capita anywhere in the world. So we produce 41 NHL players per 1 million people. And that is the highest. That's the highest level in the world, because we just spend so much time on the ice. Kids, you are just advancing so far past other kids, because you were spending, I'd spend a minimum of 2-3 on Sundays. I'd spend 5 to 6 hours on the ice a day growing up, just skating, playing shinny. So
for any, like, college recruiters or people associated with the NIL or NHL recruiters, that's the snippet they need right there to know where to go recruit for the NHL.
They'll find you. Yeah, they'll find you. Like scouts will find you. And just so from a professional standpoint, I just loved the game and got to play it forever growing up. And our rink caretaker would open the rink, and he would just let us play all day long. And that's what it was. It was just play. It wasn't until once I turned 13, Bryce, I made the conscious decision: hockey isn't about play. Hockey is about becoming a professional. I'm going to the NHL.
Yeah.
Then behaviors, habits, mindset, everything shifts there. But until the age of 13, every kid in Canada says they want to play in the NHL. Every single kid. And then at the age of 13, it was like, oh, I don't want to, I'm going to. And now behaviors and habits switch to make that possible.
I'm curious on that for you, because right around the same age was kind of like, people start coming around. Maybe you're in the newspaper a couple times. I remember like 7th, 8th grade where people were like, hey, you're a little different. You're a little special. Why don't you play up a grade or play with people older than you? Or, hey, how about you do, this travel basketball thing and stop just playing in the playground? Cognizantly, it does shift a little bit, because up until that point, it was like, screwing around, riding bikes and doing things that were like outside of basketball. And I honestly, now looking back, I think that's what enhances the proprioception and the reaction time rather, and just like having things outside of the sport where you're not specializing. And I'm curious on your thoughts, because you think about like planes of motion, or you look at something like CrossFit that's very linear, and you think about hockey and basketball and soccer and how rotational it is. And there needs to be a certain timing. And like, I know a lot of my friends that are really good at CrossFit. You go out and you like throw a football, they're kind of stiff. You go to play volleyball and it's like there's musculature in the way, and there's so much forward and back motion that that rotation and that like athletic style movement is lacking. What are your thoughts on specializing right around 13? Because it's a pretty common thing. And now with so much money and notoriety and social media and the name, image, and likeness, the nil, people are specializing a lot earlier, and people are like signing Division I scholarships at like 13 in some cases.
So I have some interesting thoughts on this. I'll share them, and I'd like to hear your response. So when I was still in the NHL, so my last year in the NHL was 2017. In 2017, when I exited the NHL, they figured that a child would have to be a one-sport child from the age of 10 in order to make it professionally. So that was 9 years ago. So 9 years ago, so that age is maybe even younger now, but they figured that because skills coaches, development was just hitting an asymmetric scale where kids were coming in so good, and they figured that you would need to be a one-sport athlete from the age of 10. We're talking about 13. We're talking about just changing habits at 13. What I'm talking about is being a one-sport athlete all year round from the age of 10 in order to make it professionally, because so many kids are doing that. Do I think that's right? No. Going back to what you said about like having no rotational component from CrossFitters that you see, there is so much value in playing other sports. And yes, I switched to a one-sport athlete at the age of 15. That's when I didn't play ball in the summer, I didn't play baseball, and I just played hockey all year round. So I switched at the age of 15. When Kat and I started dating, I understood too. I was like, you have no rotational. You don't do anything rotational. You don't twist in any manner. Everything is up and down, straightforward. You're in a lane, you go straight forward. So for some of the first things we did, started golfing, took her rock climbing, contorting, twisting, started
Grip
wake
strength.
surfing.
It's great.
Yeah, had her wake surfing so she could be sideways and twisting and understand. So like, I was like, I just need to get you, especially in off season. These were in times like, especially after when the games ended and when we had a window, and like, we need to do something else that's rotational. For me, when I played hockey, I shot left. I shot left my entire career. So at the start of the summer, I would golf right to try and balance my rotation out, so that, because I'm like, man, I want to play for 15, 20 years. If I just twist one way over the whole life, that's a lot of wear and tear on one side of my body. Hockey is an asymmetric sport. You twist one way, you have a power leg, a balance leg. You contort one way. I'm like, I need to balance that out in the summer just so I'm a more balanced athlete. And I think a more balanced athlete comes from playing different sports. So if a parent is listening to this and you have a child, I'm a huge advocate of playing different sports. I'm a huge advocate of trying something else. Yes, skills coaches have a place. Yes, development has a place. But until your kid is like 12, 13, 14, like, develop as good of an athlete as you can with all fundamentals of athletics: running, quick kicking, throwing, jumping, climbing, twisting, awareness of others around you. Just develop every part of athleticism possible and then refine. I don't think we have a daughter. I don't think I would make her a one-sport athlete from the age of 10. I think we could start doing specialized skills at that time, but I don't think I know for a fact I would definitely not limit her to playing a one sport at the age of 10.
This episode is brought to you by our friends over at Bubs Naturals. Look, wellness can get noisy. There's tons of conflicting information out there. A million supplements, a million opinions. But what I truly appreciate about Bubs is that they keep things simple. Hydration, collagen, and creatine. Real tools that support real people trying to perform better, recover better, and simply show up better for their life. I use their products consistently, whether it's hydration after training, collagen to support recovery, or creatine for performance, strength, brain health, and longevity. These are staples in my routine. But what I really respect is the mission behind the brand. Bubs truly honors legacy, adventure, service, and living life fully. If you're an athlete, an entrepreneur, a parent, a weekend warrior, or somebody truly trying to feel a little bit more human in your body, give them a look. Use code ALLSMITH to support your wellness, your journey, and support what we're building here with the AllSmith podcast. Because feeling better isn't just about vanity, it's about capacity. And capacity changes lives. Make the rest of your life the best of your life. Yeah, I think that's phenomenal insight, and I agree. And also what I would add to it is the burnout component.
Yes.
When you're doing something at a young age, I know for me in some ways it was like I became almost fearful to then go screw around and try to do BMX stuff on a bike in high school because I was like, oh, I can't hurt myself for basketball. And it almost created this psychological entitled elitism in some ways that I now looking back can say at the time I didn't know that. But it was just like, hey, I'm so focused on this thing, I'm not going to waste my time doing that thing. Little did I know that like that thing was going to help the actual outcome and goal. And also just like decrease the pressure valve a little bit where it's like you don't have to, always be so mentally focused on this thing that you can't go, ride some skateboards down a hill sometimes. But does it have come with risk? Yeah, but you can like put some guardrails just like we would on like bowling and put bumper rails on either side to be like, hey, we're still going to have fun. We're going to do this thing. We're just going to do it safely like this so we don't break a wrist or whatever. And so I think you're spot on there. I also think that there's something to be said about being bad at something new and then having that intrinsic drive of like, oh, like I didn't make it all the way up the way I wanted to in that rock climbing journey on day one, but day two, I'm going to get a little bit better. I'm going to work on my hip mobility so I can get that foot lock. And I realized, my grip strength was really good in these two fingers, but my fingers on my pinky side and my ring finger were kind of weak. I'm going to start working on my grip strength there and really pay attention to that. And then all of a sudden you see your Olympic weightlifting is better. Your pull-ups are better. Your deadlift is better. There is something there that makes you a little bit more curious than judgmental. And I think when you get really good at sports, you become judgmental when you're like, man, I didn't make the shot, or I didn't skate the way I wanted to skate, or my defense wasn't this. I didn't do as well on that workout that I would have liked. And instead of being curious, we beat ourselves up. So I think there's a mindset component that mitigates burnout that makes you, as Ted Lasso would say, curious over judgmental. And I'm curious your thoughts on the mindset component there.
I like it. I say this a lot, and I say this a lot I help a lot of people like wake surf for the first time and stuff. I'm like, trust your body will figure it out. And what's really fun for me is to try a new skill and just trust my athleticism. How's my body going to flow through this? And then try to then reverse engineer and make it sequential so that I could teach it. So, but I love trying something new to see how my body is going to figure it out. And I love testing that. Like right now, our daughter is pulling herself up on things and standing up. So she's trying something new and she's trying to figure out how to do this. And then apply that to more advanced skills as you get older in life is trying something new and then learning. Everything kind of has a sequence. There's an athletic side, but then once you discover and once your body is able to do it, then you're able to make it sequential so that you can teach it in case somebody is struggling. But I always want somebody to try something first and it's exactly what you said. Be curious. Yeah. It's not failure if you don't get it right away. It's not failure if they got it and you don't. It's like, just let your body figure it out. Trust your body. The more, for anybody listening, the more uncomfortable and unique movement patterns you can put your body into, just the more overall athletic you will become. And as a child, we played everything growing up. We played badminton, volleyball, baseball, hockey, water skied, golf, track and field, cross country. What else did we play? Everything else under the sun. Tennis, like everything under the sun we played. So whatever sport comes around now, I generally have some concept of being able to understand
how's your pickleball game?
Pickleball was okay, although I just played in pickleball. I just played with a buddy in LA, has a pickleball court in his backyard.
Nice.
And man, I played with some pickleballers. Like one of the guys is a pickleball racket company owner. So my pickleball game, I say, is good until I play with pickleballers, and I'm like, oh, bro, you guys are good.
Dude, I'm right there with you. I played with my father-in-law when we were out in Florida. They have one like kind of in the little town that they live, and we were popping over there. We were getting competitive. The John and the shit talking back and forth gets pretty good. And it's a sport that I think is pretty fun. The camaraderie is cool, and like, I don't know, it's fun to see people getting out and moving, and that is rotational. And like, you can also do it and be kind of lazy that people aren't that good. And then when, for like you said, the pickleballers, that reaction time needs to be fast, so you're getting pegged somewhere.
Yes, yeah. And just like if you ever elevate the ball a little bit, it's coming right back at you.
Oh, yeah.
Keeping the ball down. I was like, I had never played against real pickleballers. It reminds me of the first time, Bryce, you like this story, the first time I had just retired from the NHL, right? 2017 is my last year. 2018, I get invited to go to the GoPro mountain games. And I'm like, great, let's go to the GoPro mountain games. And they have this mountain bike adventure. I'm like, oh, I'd pound the bike in the summer. All summer long, we pound the bike. I'm going to go in the pro division of the mountain biking. So I sign up for the pro division. And I'm doing this with and through GoPro. I don't have any gear. I show up. They give me a bike. I have to get a bike. They give me a bike and a helmet, and I show up to the starting line. And I've just got shorts, a T-shirt, and a bike helmet on. And I look around. I'm like, oh, everybody else has got skin tight, like unis, glasses, like contoured helmets, different style of bike. And I'm like, oh, I might be a little out of my comfort zone here. And then boom, the race starts. All of these guys take off. I go to gear, change gears, and it gears to like the super easy gear. So I went geared the wrong way. So all of these bikers take off, and I'm just spinning like this, and I'm in dead last. And I never saw another racer. I got lapped on my first lap, and these guys were. And then I was like, oh, there's prize money on the line here. There's like $3,000 if you win the race. So I pulled out after lap one because the mountain bike, the route was tight, and guys were like, move, and I would just ghost ride my bike into the bush to get off it and I'm like, I'm so out of my league here. But I thought, hey, professional athlete in this lane, played 13 years in the NHL, I should be a professional athlete over here. Nope, wrong button. Not even close. I need to go back down to the beginner bike race. But that was a really humbling moment for me. But it was also just like they were so specialized. They were so fast down things that made me I'm like, I'm going over the handlebars if I hit it at that speed. And these guys didn't even blink. They were just wild.
Oh, that's wild. I remember doing my first CrossFit workout when I was still playing basketball in Sweden, and we had a day off, and the first workout was Nancy, and I think it's 5 rounds, 400-meter run, 15 overhead squats. And like, I'd done a couple power snatches in my life, but I'd never done an overhead squat before, let alone 95 is not super heavy now. But at the time, I was just a skinny basketball guy. Like now I'm 220 pounds. At the time, I was like 175 pounds soaking wet. And I remember 3, 2, 1, go. Like we're in Sweden. It was so cold for me that I'm like wearing my snow jacket. I've got like the beanie on, I've got like my snow pants on, and I'm looking like the fucking Michelin man. Yeah. And all the Swedes are in t-shirt and shorts. So like I almost had the reverse thing where I was like the gear guy that was freezing, and they had like no gear. And I'm thinking like jog, come inside, kind of like take a breath for a little bit. These guys go straight to the bar, squat, snatch it. They're cranking overhead squats, and I'm like, I had just picked up the bar. They're dropping the bar on after their 15 overhead squats back out the door. And I'm like, oh, I'm in trouble. And same thing. I'm like, I'm a pro basketball player. I can figure this out. And same thing. I got lapped. And it was just jaw dropping and eye opening of like, oh, there's levels to this game. This isn't just like hitting a workout. This is like working out for a sport. And that was just like my first introduction of just like, I want to practice this. I want to understand how these guys are able to do it. And yeah, it was just like an itch that I had to scratch at after that.
It literally happened to me this morning. So I get to work out alongside the 2-time fittest woman in the world every day. And we did a workout this morning, 6-minute AMRAP, 1 minute off times 3.
Yep.
2 wall walks, 4 power cleans, 6 toes to bar, 2, 4, 6. In the first round, she does like 7 rounds and something, 6 reps, something like that. And I didn't even quite make, I think I made 6 rounds and 5 reps. So she lapped me plus some. And then I'm like, I'm dying. I'm like, there's no way I can hold that.
There's no way she just had a baby 8 months ago.
and she just lapped me. And I'm like, there's no way I can hold. I went out way too hot. And the subsequent rounds, my reps came down. I'd never reached the same amount. She got faster. She got 8 rounds in her last thing. Each round she improved. And in the first round, she kicked my ass. Yeah. And I couldn't, and I was just like, after the workout, I'm like, babe, you are so impressive. You're so impressive. I don't know. And she just flew home. She just flew from Iceland yesterday back home. So she was up at 4 a.m. with her, jet lagged. And she just crushed me in the gym today. And I was just like, this is so wildly impressive to see you do this and to see you push. And like, I'm trying as hard as I can. I can't even come close to that. And my first round was my best. And then it fell off. And her first round crushed mine. And then she got faster.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it.
It's almost like she used the first round as like a little pulse check and just kind of like, where am I at? How fast can I go? What's curious there, the correlation that I'm seeing, though, that's kind of comedic in my headspace is that I've heard you talk a little bit about the dynamic with your parents, with your mother and your father and your mom, like always was the cheerleader and the lover. Like you could never play a bad game, which I definitely want to hear about. And your dad was kind of like quiet confidence, like in the sense of like never really got on you, but also didn't like, give you a pat on the back when you did things that you were kind of what you were supposed to do. And what's funny is I'm seeing you kind of be a pretty cool like cheerleader for Kat. Like, this is awesome. Da, da, da. Like, you're so fit. You're so impressive. But in her mind, she might be used to other coaches that she's had, maybe other training partners, maybe, Ben back in the day. And in her mind, she's like, that's not good enough. If I want to get back to that level of the thing, like I need to get better. How's that dynamic been for you kind of just in reflection to give our listeners a little context of your upbringing with your parents? And how's that been for you as a husband and a father?
Wow. Great question. I love my mom and dad. I have great parents. My mom, Jane, my dad, Harold. My mom, bless her heart, never, ever felt I played a bad game. And we were talking about this before, Bryce, and like my mom just never, ever felt I played a bad game ever. And even she had a great thing. Like she would always say, go get 'em, Tiger. Bryce. Yes. She would text me that. She would just always say, go get 'em, Tiger. And she also had another really powerful line that just really centered me all the time. If she knew I was struggling, if she could see that I was going through a tough time in my sport, because you play 82 games across 13 years, 82 games a year, 13 years, you're going to go through some peaks and valleys. She would always just like message me or just talk to me. She's like, hockey's living outside your heart trying to get in. Have hockey live inside your heart and let it come out. And I would just be like, oh. And it just reminded me, go back to playing. Just play the game I played in Wawota, Saskatchewan when I was 5 years old on Sunday, right? I played the game at the age of 5. How hard can this be? It ain't that hard. I played at the age of 5. And she always just had these really good, non-technical, just heart and approach and love and passion, just things that she supported me in that manner. And then my dad was more of the technical. He was the teacher. He was the coach. He coached me, taught me everything I knew about hockey until the age of 14, 15 when I went to play elsewhere and played for other coaches. Dad coached me until I left. And then even right through my NHL career, I would still talk to my dad after games. What did you see on this play? What was your read? What did you see? Like, this is what I saw on the ice. Is this what you saw? What would you do there? Would you back up? Would you pivot? Would you like, we would discuss plays. I have a great respect and appreciation for his understanding of the game. And through my whole journey, he was a great resource and a great support system. He was also provided in a wonderful manner, and for any parent listening, he provided constructive criticism. I think my parents managed me in the most beautiful way as a team. My mom was the cheerleader and the support system when I needed that. And she didn't understand hockey the way that my dad did. She didn't need to. She supported me that way. My dad helped me get better. If I would score 3 goals, he's like, great game, but you should have had the 4th. And I would be like, you're right. I should have had that 4th one. Even though I think I scored 3, I had a pretty good game. He'd be like, you did. You scored 3. You should have had the 4th. But he never yelled at me. He was never hard on me. He never forced me to practice. They gave me every advantage they could, but left the work and the intention up to me. And I would take hockey as far as I wanted to take hockey. They would go everywhere with me and support me in every manner, but it was up to me. And for any parent listening, that duo, that combo of emotional support, human support from my mom, constructive criticism in a non-forceful way, but just an educational way from my dad, was just, I don't know a better combination to supply a child with than that. That was just my journey. Maybe Bryce, yours is a little different. Maybe your parents approached it different. I would love to hear from other parents. For me and my fiance, I know she's not going to understand hockey the same way if our daughter, if we have a son or anything that plays hockey. I know I'm going to be the more technical one. So we do have a duty to help them improve, but we also have a duty to understand that we have to support them as well. So what was your journey like in your sport, right, in playing basketball? What were your parents like, and what was the dynamic between the two parents supporting you?
Great question. It was very similar to yours. My mom was always very supportive and whatnot, but what was very interesting is that you really dive deep with a shovel and dig when they're gone, because you're like, okay, why am I the way I am? And my mom definitely was pushing us in academics. So when I got good grades, I got a lot of love from mom. When I got bad grades, I definitely got constructive criticism, or you could have done this, 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 and this on the academic side of things. As far as sports, I, like you, never played a bad game. My mom was like, oh, you did so good out there. You looked great in your uniform. And I'm like, Mom, that doesn't matter. And then my dad, just wanted me to get good enough grades so I could be eligible to, play sports. And, fortunately, I was a pretty good student, but that wasn't because I was like a good test taker. It was mostly just because I found ways to keep the total points in the class high by doing, the extracurriculars or doing papers or whatever. But my dad was interesting because, and maybe it's just how I took it, but it's like I could feel his demeanor and his body language. He never really yelled at me if I didn't play well. Very quiet, not as technical. I don't think he really understood the game as much as I did, but he tried, and he was a fan of the sport and definitely saw certain things. But the thing that I could feel is that when I played well, I could feel him being a little lighter. And when I didn't play well, I could feel him carrying tension of wanting to be a little bit more outcome oriented. And it wasn't until they passed that I came to that resolution a little bit, where now it's creating content and making a great podcast and our newsletter and writing things. I'm like, oh, that's trying to be a good student. And then it's over here, how was my workout? Or, how'd we do at High Rocks? Or whatever the thing is over here is kind of that's the athlete side of me. So I see yin and yang in it. But I definitely see how and I'm curious your thoughts here. I heard you and Ed Milet talk about this a little bit, where there's something that happens in the headspace of the inner child when you're an achiever. When you're in pursuit of seeking your peak expression, whether that's as an athlete, as a student, as an artist, as a performer. And I definitely fell into that for a while, where I was like, oh, if I don't perform, what good am I to the world? And I'm curious how you've navigated that, because I definitely went through a big lull post basketball, and then it came up again in CrossFit, and then post CrossFit, it's what good am I if I'm not able to do the thing like I once could? And it became this performance pursuit as opposed to living, like you kind of alluded to before, like living there versus, hey, allowing that to be like an on and off switch that you touch on occasionally.
I want to approach this with real gentle gloves on for people listening.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you're asking is a very, very serious question. If you want to be best in the world at something, CrossFit, hockey, gymnastics, golf, your life is not about happiness. It is not about what makes you happy. It is about discipline, training, application, sleep, nutrition. Every decision you make in the course of a day filters through the lens of, does this make me a better hockey player or a worse hockey player? It is not about, do I care about my friends? Am I missing graduation, a wedding, an event? There is nothing else that you see. You are tunnel visioned. And that can lead to greatness. You can achieve greatness within an arena in that mindset. When I think you look at the greats over history, they have some sort of obsession, an imbalanced obsession, not just a standard obsession, an imbalanced obsession with what they are trying to accomplish. So I don't say that to try to nudge people listening into this, or if you're a parent, to try to have you nudge your kid into this. Those that have it will do it innately. One of the reasons I resonated so much and was such a big fan of my fiance, before we even met, we were social friends. I was a fan of hers for 3 years before we even met, because she was that way. And I was that way in hockey. And I saw me in another athlete, and I was like, man, she's the same 24/7 across the board. She's going to maximize her potential. And I had an admiration for that, because that's how I was. And so I was a fan of hers, and I was a fan of Cole Sagers, who's become a very good friend of mine. He lives 30 minutes away from us, because I saw this same demeanor and approach in them. But that does not lead to the happiest version of you. You don't get as many laughs. Your relationships might suffer. People will be sacrificed. Relationships, it will cost you, is what I'm trying to say. As much as it will afford you, it will also cost you. Mm-hmm. That's one element and one approach. I have an utmost respect for, I'm seeing more athletes today succeed while being married young, while having kids. This goes back to our conversation earlier about composure. I have such a respect for athletes that have a better social life, that do have happiness in their life rather than conflict and competition 24/7. I wish I had more of that when I was young. I think Kat has done a much better job in her life of allowing a support system to support her better. I think she's a more social person than I was. I'm more of an introvert. So I pushed away from things, and she's like, I need to be charged by other people. I have such an appreciation for how she has been able to be absolutely wired in. And anybody that knows her knows that. But she's still also a bubbly and wonderful and kind personality. And she walks it much better. She walks the greatest, for me, this is so fun for me to say, Bryce, she walks the greatest balance of ferocity and kindness that I have ever seen. Her pendulum, she can be, as you see her when it flips. When she hits the floor, she's as fierce as anybody out there. And then she comes off the floor, and once the competition is done and she's let go of it, she's just as soft and tender and bubbly and kind and graceful. And seeing her do that has made me a better father, a better partner. It has made me grow in so many more areas, and I have such an admiration for that. I say all of that lightly because I don't want anybody out there to misinterpret this. Mm-hmm. But I also it also afforded me everything in my life. It cost me a lot of things in my life, and I don't know that I would ever change it. But that all-in approach can lead to greatness, but there is a cost with it. Yeah, curious just for you to unpack what I just said and how you resonate or feel about any of that.
Yeah, I very much align and agree with what you're saying. I also think it's a phenomenal learning lesson. I think sport is such a beautiful teaching ground because everything costs something. We were talking loosely, like, if you guys decide to, have a home in Iceland, you're going to have to give up certain things that are in Idaho when you go to Iceland. It's going to be different in some capacities, different food, different community, different environment, different accessibility. Same thing with San Diego. And so I think it goes both sides. I think there's a little bit of FOMO on both sides for people that are maybe living the traditional kid life and having fun and vibrant and going out with their friends and screwing around and this, that, and the other more often than honing discipline. They might wonder, what would it be like if I really honed in on one particular aspect of performance, whether that's athletic or academic or the arts. And I think vice versa. I know I always wondered, what would it be like to not be at the gym 5 hours a day? What would it be like when I got home to screw around on AOL Instant Messenger and, have access to watching, South Park and The Simpsons versus I need to eat, I need to do homework, and I need to go to bed. And so I definitely wondered the other side. And so I think it goes with a yin and the yang, and you ultimately make a choice. And I know specifically, I don't regret the choices that I made because I can now afford the balance to pursue some of those in-between lifestyle markers now that maybe I didn't have time or didn't make time for in my younger days. But being 36, my body can't do the things that I did, when I was 15 to 28. And so I wouldn't trade them for anything. I think taking advantage of your youth is a beautiful thing that affords you lifelong lessons that you can always go and live things later in life and have a better depth of understanding because of the sacrifices that you made to get to that point. So I think the sequence of operations is very important. I think of it as hard, easy, discipline first, play second. And maybe that's backwards, but I kind of like it that way in the sense of if you play first, you kind of have a little bit of a guilty conscience, or at least I do, of oh, I'm playing, I should be doing this. But if I get the work done first, it's now play is just limitless. I can let my guard down a little bit more.
I wish I had learned earlier in life that everything doesn't cost you something.
Yeah.
I always thought I was single for most of my career because I thought a relationship would cost me energy, time, thought, application, everything. And it wasn't until I was 30, 32 that I realized, no, that can so much enhance. All of these things that I thought were going to cost me actually really enhance my life. Mm-hmm. And it's similar to what you were saying. And same, I'll do the work first and play second. I feel it's just the way I'm wired. I think I've learned a little bit more. I hope that sort of flips. I hope to keep that and instill that also in our kids, that discipline and hard work and everything. But I also want them to just play. And I hope I want to remember that certainly in their youth for a long enough time to just play and not be too worried about the discipline and too worried about constraint, and just let them be free. That's for the first 10, 12, 13 years of their life. I just want to keep their souls free.
Yeah.
And then I think around 13, 14, you make the conscious decision. You're old enough now to make a conscious decision. It's time to develop some applicable skills and really elevate. And I'm so curious, what other parents who are further down the road than I am, I'm 8 months into this, what they would have to say.
I'm at that age, similar to you, that just a lot of my buddies have kids, and I just love picking their brain a little bit. And my best friend, since we were 5 years old, has 3 kids now, and we just chopped it up on a phone call 2 days ago, and he was calling me while he was doing pull-ups. And I was like, dude, I admire so much that you make this a priority. And he was never like a CrossFitter. He was an All-American tennis player at Pepperdine. And cheers, dude.
Cheers.
Cheers,
Yeah,
our daughters.
Our daughters.
That's funny. But I was asking, I was like, dude, I don't know how you do it. And he goes, I don't either. I just show up and it's rooted in gratitude and presence. He's like, I don't have to do this. I get to do this. And he said, as long as you keep that foundational, not just in your behavior and the activities and the choices that you make, your kids aren't going to listen to what you say. They're going to follow suit in what you do. And I thought that was a really profound way to say it. And then I shared with him, every day I wake up and I take my morning piss and then I walk out and I let my dogs out. And Brooks, they're so excited to go to the same yard, to pee in the same place, wondering if there was a squirrel or a skunk or a bobcat or a bird or a bunny or a lizard, something for them to chase. And it's like, dude, it's the same yard. To humans sometimes are like, this is kind of boring. We're going to go do the same thing we did yesterday like this. But they're so rooted in gratitude and presence. They're like, oh my gosh, then I get time with mommy and daddy. Then I get love. Everybody's awake now. Like, when is food going to happen? What's going to happen today? And then it's like, we get to go out into the world and they spend all day just like, when are they going to be back? They're so loving. And I think those foundational things we let go of when it becomes performance culture. And it's like, oh, I have to go to the gym now. Oh, I have to go train. I have to go to practice. And it's like, no, I get to do this. How cool is that? There's a reframe there that I think is really important to maintaining a high level of enthusiasm, despite not having new, shiny, bright things to be enthusiastic about.
Mm-hmm. I feel that every day. Exactly what you're saying, what your dogs. I feel that about our daily routine with my fiance. I was just trying to tilt the camera because my dog is literally laying right here.
That's
Aren't
awesome.
they the best friends on the planet?
Hi, Coda.
Yeah, he's laying right here at my feet. I feel the same way. I think gratitude is a superpower. Man, you live with gratitude. Like, my best day is just I wake up, I get to make breakfast for my fiance, and then when I make our breakfast and coffee and I set it up, and then I get to sit and hold our daughter while we eat breakfast. Kat and I play like the New York Times spelling bee games, and the first 30 to 45 minutes of our day is easy and slow, and it's just us as a family. And that's my favorite part of my entire day. And then after that, it's like, okay, she had a call at 7:30 that she had to get on this morning. I got into work, and it's like, okay, our day has started, and then we went and trained together once her call was done, and we're on with our day. But like, build a life, for anybody listening, build a life, build a routine that you absolutely love. Travel is amazing. Like, I own a travel company. We travel all over the world. Travel is amazing. I am so excited to get back home to routine, like so excited. Just our daily, what we've built, our day, how we structure our day, the person I get to do it with is so fun. I feel like your dog's running out into the backyard, right? Like, it's just rooted in, it's exactly what you said. Gratitude, presence. We say the gratitude's part of our daily prayer. We just say things we're grateful for: our home, the peace, the calm, the joy, the fact that we found each other, that a guy from Wawota, Saskatchewan and a girl from Iceland somehow circled around the earth enough times until they bumped into each other. And gratitude is a superpower. I love it.
And it's funny because it's like, it seems cliche, like, oh, they're talking about gratitude on a podcast. But it's almost like strict pull-ups or burpees or the assault bike. It's like, yeah, it's pretty simple. And everybody can do it. Everybody has access to it. But it is a muscle. You have to actively make the choice. Simple, not easy. And so gratitude practice is something that I recommend everybody does and carves out non-negotiable at least 2 minutes, morning or evening or even midday, to just visit the gratitude factory for a second, to really imprint that neuroplasticity into your mind so that it's so easy to access gratitude. But if you don't do it often, it feels very far out of reach. It becomes a high-hanging fruit instead of a low-hanging fruit because our headspace gets turned this way into the constant negativity or chaos. And all we got to do is just shift the lenses a little bit to the side. And so I hope people listening, they're not like, oh, this is just a cliche thing. It's like, no, please do it. I think it will change the rest of your life for the better.
I could not agree with you more. I also want to add into that, if you don't have gratitude in your life, come on a trip with me to Africa. I have a story around this that I want to share with you that blew my heart wide open. I always tell this to people. I'm like, come to Africa with me. I promise to wonderfully disrupt your heart in a way that you can't even imagine. 2016, 2017, somewhere in there, I went to Africa, and I was in Zambia. I was in the country of Zambia, visited a small village. And this lady in the village said, I'm so grateful that tourists like you come visit us and leave donations because we've been able to get a water well. And they showed us their well. They got a water well. She goes, we've lost so many kids to crocodile attacks getting water at the river. Kids would go to the river and be snatched by crocodiles just trying to get water. And sorry, what is our problem here in the United States? What is it that you're sad about or upset about? Or you only have the iPhone 14 instead of the 18? Or what's the problem? You know, your vehicle's 7 years old or 10. What is your problem? That moment, man, changed my life. I could not believe that there was a place in the world where their kids had to go get water and never came home.
Yeah. Wow.
And I think that moment wired gratitude into me forever. It detached me from material, physical things. That's part of why, like, I'll go to Africa every year the rest of my life, but just to visit and meet people. And I'll take, especially with our kids, man, I will take them to Africa every year just to see that the world is very different in other places. And also, man, are they happy. Man, you can see the kids running around with all they have in life is the shorts and shirts that they have on their body. And you can tell that they've been wearing them for 2 months, and they are just wildly happy, grinning ear to ear because they're rich in community people. They're loved by their family. They don't need a TV or a this or a toy or an iPad or something. They just are rich in community and in love. And it's so refreshing to see that. So, yeah, if anybody is struggling with gratitude, as you've talked about, make it, if you're not going to go to Africa, make it present in your day. And then if you can at some point in life, man, travel the world and see that everybody doesn't live the same way we do. We've got it pretty darn good. Yeah,
that's amazing perspective from that story. I have a friend who, he's a doctor, and he was doing a rotation in Uganda. And he was working with a patient, and he pulled out his iPhone to look up a medication to see what the generic name was, to see if they had access to this particular medication. And then he clicked his iPhone, so it was the black screen. And the little boy that he was working with saw his, like, as he was taking the phone to put it back in his pocket, the little boy saw his own reflection on the phone. I was like, hey, can I see that? And he was looking at it and doing all these things. And so he, like, opens the camera function. He's like, hey, look at this. Da-da. It was the first time that little boy had ever seen himself outside of his reflection in water.
Yeah.
And my buddy's eyes just, like, teared up. And he was just like, whoa, like, this little boy was so sick, and just, like, holding onto his leg, and, like, the way he grabbed onto his fingers, it was just, like, so loving. It wasn't like, hey, what's on your fingers? Did you wash your hands? Like, I'm going to judge you. Like, this is weird. Like, you're a stranger. You're stranger danger. It was like, no, you seem cool. They're so, like, non-creepy handsy. Like, it's so loving, and just, like, I don't know, the way he described it, I almost felt like I was there. And it was very similar to the way you described it. Like, it's a place that's on my bucket list that I definitely want to go visit. So I really appreciate you sharing, man.
Please do. Dude, so here's what's going to happen. If you ever go to, anybody listening, safari is my favorite adventure in the entire planet. It's the greatest thing on the planet. For me, it's the greatest thing on the planet. It is nature's gifts. Nobody owns these. They're not owned by man or created by man. It is landscapes, animals, sunsets, stars. It is the gifts of Mother Nature that I think everybody in the world should see. When you go on safari, Bryce, please call me and let me just please give me 30 minutes to chat with you about safari. It's my favorite thing on the planet. The animals will be what brings you there.
Yep.
And I've been on safaris in Uganda, South Africa, Tanzania, Kenya, Botswana, Zambia, a lot of Uganda. Yeah, I'm at a lot of different places. Rwanda. The animals will draw you in. The people are going to steal your heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best thing in the world. The animals will draw you there, and the people are going to capture your heart, and they're going to steal your heart. And they're so friendly and warm and happy and joyous, and dance and celebration are a part of every single day. Over in North America, we're kind of awkward when we start dancing. They just start dancing after supper. Just somebody starts clapping and hollering and something, and then they just start moving their body, and it's just they have such a joy and they have. We talked about this earlier before we started about play. They have such play present in their life. So much of their life is hard labor, like getting water, building your own home. We hire somebody to build our homes. They build their own hut. They mud it every 2 months. They so much of their life is labor, but still they have so much more play present in their day than I think we do in the West. And it is so beautiful, man. Come to Africa. Anybody that's listening, come to Africa with World Playground, with when we do our group trips, or let me send you to the right places that I know are going to touch your heart. It is a wild and amazing place.
That's incredible.
It is for me.
Dude, the other thing that's dope to me is just being movement guys, and you talk about play and rotation and joints, and I've been to a few different psychedelic experiences, and there's so much dance and play and inner work and just joint rotation from your feet to your knees to your hips to your belly to your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists, your neck. And just watching and hearing how you're describing their dancing just sounds so beautiful for the human experience, but also just from a health standpoint, you're getting movement at every single joint, you know what I mean? And they don't even know it. They're just, it's just built into their day. And then when you're building your home, you have a lot more gratitude for your home because you're the one that put it together. You're the one that has really, it's like making a meal. You have a lot more pride in that meal versus just Uber Eatsing it or whatever.
Yeah.
Tell us about World Playground, man. How'd you kind of get the travel bug and start wanting to scratch that itch? And then how did it eventually turn into a business that you really wanted to share with people? I mean, the way you just lit up about Africa, that's freaking amazing, man. It was cool.
That's a book from Rwanda. That's a book from Rwanda. That's a book from Iceland. This book's called Human Playground. My whole life I was an athlete, right? At the age of 13, conscious decision, 11 and a half months a year, I'm an athlete. Same thing through my professional career. I knew that I wanted to travel. I wanted to see the world, but that was going to be some other time in life. We have a shelf life as an athlete. I was applied from the age of 13 to the time my contract was torn up at the age of 34. That was 2017. 2018 and 2019, dude, I went everywhere. I had no schedule that I had to be on. I didn't have to be at practice. Workouts now became optional. I had choice in my life. For the first time in 21 years, I had choice in my life.
Yep.
And I went everywhere. I went to Tonga to swim with humpback whales. I climbed Kilimanjaro in Africa with my mom. I went on safaris. I went scuba diving and sailing in Indonesia. I went everywhere. And after 2 years of that, because I had the time to do it and I had the means to do it. And after 2 years of that, I was like, oh, I'm going to go broke spending all of my money on travel. I better figure out how to apply my intelligence here to create something. I had lived my life on team sports. I had just done these amazing adventures for 2 years. I figured other people probably want to do the same thing. And I'm like, let me apply my intelligence here and create an adventure community where I'll lead people on these trips that I know, and we'll create a community. We'll do it together. There'll be the power of the collective. And then in 2020, myself, along with my co-founder, Jeff Schaefer, we started World Playground, and we called it World Playground because I used to sign my autographs to kids, to Bryce. The world is your playground, your friend, Brooks Laich. And I would sign it like that because my dad was a principal and my dad wanted me to go to university. And I said, no, I'm going to play hockey. I'm going to win a Stanley Cup. I'm going to the NHL. He goes, well, you can go to university first and then play hockey afterwards. And I'm like, no, I want to play hockey. And so I always looked at the world as a place of play. My dad was not wrong. He was just wrong for me. I always looked at the world as a place of play. And I always wanted to instill that in kids. Don't just go to college and check in a 9 to 5. Like, look at the world. What do you want to do in life? Go pursue it. After that, so I got the social medias for handles for World Playground in 2015, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it. 5 years later, we start this adventure company.
That's cool.
What I realize is adults need to keep play in their life as much as kids do. Mm-hmm. We have duties, responsibilities, bills, taxes, payments, deadlines, jobs, decisions, you name it. There's a lot of stresses on life. Adults need to still play. And so we would go everywhere in the world, do these fun adventures with people that wanted to do whatever. Trek with the gorillas in Rwanda, go through Iceland and see some glaciers and trek on those, or sail and scuba dive in Indonesia, go inside the pyramids in Egypt, whatever, go on safari in Tanzania, whatever you want to do, we would do these trips. And that's how it came about. And I'm one of those people now, Bryce, that says, I don't know how I ended up here. Because I never set out. When people would say, I never thought I was going to be this. And I'm like, how did you not know? I was going to be a hockey player from the time I knew life existed.
Yeah.
34 years, I knew exactly what I was going to be. How did you not know? And then first retirement, and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to be. But there was one day I asked myself for a couple of years, Bryce, you resonate with this. I struggled. I'm like, I don't know what I want to do in life. Mm-hmm. I know that I don't want to just accept that my best days are behind me. I elevated to being one of the best in the world in what I did, played in the best league in the world for 13 years. I can't accept that my best days are behind me. What is my future impact? What is my place in this life? What lights me up? And then I just started paying attention to what I was doing daily, and it was traveling, and it was friends. It was traveling with friends. And then I was like, okay, if I had $100 million, what would I do? If money was no issue, what would I do? I'd grab my friends and I'd go travel. That's what I'd do. I'd grab all my friends and I'd go travel. And so I was like, okay, that's in 2020, we started World Playground, and then it's evolved to where it is now. But I love what we're doing now. We just launched a new website. We can get into that. I want to pause there for a second, but my journey, it might look like it was roses from 2017 until launching World Playground in 2020, but there was some very tough days in there as well, discovering who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do in the world, but always laced with I was refusing to accept that my best days were behind me.
Yeah, I like the way you phrased that, because that's definitely something that I think travels through the headspace of people that go through first retirement of like, who am I? And then when you try to answer that question, I am, for everything that comes after that, kind of sets up the rest of your life. And what's so interesting is that for a long time, myself and other people that I've crossed paths with, we were in pursuit of titles or the thing that was going to get the respect or the head turning thing. So you're at a networking event. People are like, oh, that guy is this person. And it was funny. It wasn't until I ended up going to Sundance to meet a friend out there who was putting on an event. I was just transitioning. I really didn't have a title or anything. And I was just kind of shaking hands with people, kind of letting them know how I knew the person that was putting on the event. They're like, oh, what do you do? The famous Western question. And I was like, I help people. And they were like, I like that. That's kind of cool. Mm-hmm. And they were like, what's the name of your company? And I was like, no, I'm just a human. I help people. And I think they were jaw dropped because everybody there was like, hey, here's my card. Here, send me an email. Like, let's set up a coffee meeting next week. Let's do this. And I was just in there, and something about helping people just landed. I was like, whoa, that feels right, where head, heart, and soul are now in alignment. It created a vibration in me where it was like, you are enough. You don't have to be something in order to be loved in return. You can just show up and be a human of service. And something about what you just described is beautiful, because we get stuck in this rat race where most people are leading lives of quiet desperation, to echo Henry David Thoreau. And then people are just making it day by day to pay their bills and just get their head to the pillow at night. And it's like, no. You can be more than that. You just have to decide. You have to make the decision. And that decision is not I'll be ready when. That decision is I'm going to take the leap now. And I'm going to figure it out as we go. And I'm going to have the courage and the wherewithal to not just live on top of this reservoir of potential, but actually try to squeeze the juice out of that potential orange.
Can I ask you to participate in an experiment?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay. This was something that very much helped me in my life. It was the first time I had this conversation. I had it with Cole Sager. And
good guy. We've had him on a couple of times too. Love that guy.
One of the best human beings on the planet. For your listeners, I haven't shared this with Bryce before. He does not know what's coming right now, but it's a 2-part question. It's 2 questions that really helped me identify the next stage of my life when I didn't know what I was going to do after hockey. And so the first question that I would like to ask you, and I applied these to myself, and this was a conversation I had with Cole Sager. My question to you, the first question, and I have a follow-up, but the first question I have for you, Bryce, is what is your mission in life?
I like that you asked that. So there was a phrase that you had used early in your description where you found what lit your heart on fire, is what I heard you say. And so when I finished playing basketball, I went through this thing pulled from Simon Sinek called the Why Discovery. And you do what's called, you take a sheet of paper, and on your left side is your earliest memory, and your right side is modern day. And you just draw a line down that sheet of paper. And it's called the equator exercise. Everything above the equator are things that you're like, those are relatively positive experiences that shaped who I am. I'd probably go through those again. And then below the equator are a bunch of things that you've been through that you're like, that one was tough, but it moved the needle like a ton. And I don't really want to go through it again, but it helped shape who I am. And so you go through this, you plot different things, 5 to 10 stories above and below. You share it with somebody. That person takes notes. And they write down, oh, Bryce says this a lot. This seems to be a theme. He uses this language a lot. And then you have dialogue around it, and you create a why statement. So asking about my purpose or my mission was to believe in others and create a safe space to allow their light to shine. The most ironic thing about all of this is that let your light shine is tattooed on my arm. Every story that was on my equator was tattooed on me, but I didn't know it.
Wow.
And so it was like, I ended up like bawling my eyes out, like, whoa, we found the thing. And so it was a very interesting experience. And then I'll answer your second question and then poke me for a second about let your light shine, because it came full circle later on in life.
Okay. My follow-up to this, my answer was I want to inspire people. That was my mission in life. Used to be to win a Stanley Cup. Now it was more about others. I want to inspire people. So my follow-up to that then is, what is your platform or method to deliver on your mission? Mm-hmm. Right? So your mission was to create a safe space for others to let their life shine. So now what is the method that you do that? And I believe what we're doing today is your method to do that. There might be something additional that I don't know about, but I want to ask you the question, what is your method to perform your inspiration or your mission? Sorry.
It's the whole foundation as to why we started Allsmith. People either in adversity just left it or they're approaching it. everybody on the planet is technically a smith, forging themselves or learning or trying to pursue what I describe as their peak expression. And so in the forms of wellness, mindset, podcasts, and storytelling, our apparel, and we host like social clubs. So it's sauna and ice at our house. It's different retreats and events that we host locally here in Southern California. Using that platform, we help guide people towards allowing their light to shine and instilling those value systems in their confidence.
So good. So like, I love that your answers are exactly what we're doing today.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that helped me was, right, the 2 questions for anybody out there, anybody that's going through a transition. What is your mission in life? Once you know that, what is your platform or method to execute that mission? Mm-hmm. And your answers are exactly this moment, what we're doing today. You have found your passion, your pursuit for the foreseeable future. It might change again in life, and that's fine. But I love that you are sitting in this thing rather than looking for it. So congrats to you. Circling back to let your light shine. Unpack that.
Yeah, so it's funny, man. Towards the end of my CrossFit career, I went through a pretty tough breakup. And that was also at a time when I injured my elbow, was kind of still in that transition where, like you discussed with Steve Weatherford, where like the boat wanted to move, but I had the anchor kind of still stuck. And so it was a very tough time. My mom had just passed. And so I went through about 2 years of just like my version of rock bottom. And after about 2 years of just like, hey, I hired a coach and we started working we did the why discovery. I started spending time with Laird. I started kind of getting in different arenas and just it kind of worked on me a lot. All of a sudden I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to like start dating. And so I dated a little bit, but I never really like found the one. It was not really like, I could just tell that it just wasn't quite there yet. And one day I was like, you know what? I was on one of the dating apps and I saw this woman. She had played soccer and like there was something about her that I was just like, that's the person. And I sent her a message and just said like, you know, they give you like the option to like have some generic line that you can text over or whatever. And I was like, I don't like any of those. So I like texted her and said, what's lighting your heart on fire currently? And she never responded. And so I was like, all right, well, I shot my shot, and like I think it was Bumble, and so the girl has to like prompt the interaction, and she never responded. So I was like, man, like I was kind of bummed. A few months went by, never heard from her, didn't know what her social media was, nothing happened. And then one day, I log into Instagram, and I get this message, and she goes, hey, you messaged me on one of the dating apps. I'm going to be down in San Diego doing like a Santa run thing. I'd love to meet up. And I was like, hey, thanks so much for your message. Like, how do I know you? And she was like, oh, like you asked me this question like 2.5, almost 3 months ago. And so anyway, like that's now my wife. Yeah. And so the irony of like, let your light shine. Like I end up meeting her. She brings her dog to our first date, and I'm wearing like these Vuori jogger pants that have like this pocket on the calf. And because she told me that she was going to bring her dog, like I had these little like liver treats in that little low pocket.
Oh, good man.
So he knew. He's like my little sidekick now. His name's Ollie. He like right away, it was just like we bonded, we connected on value systems. She played professional soccer, so she just understood the athlete mentality. And she had graduated into the next chapter of her life as a nurse and truly cared about loving and caring for people, but also loved adventure and play and being in nature and the mountains and the ocean. And like, it's just amazing how that line, let your light shine, time and time again keeps floating into the surface of our life and with our friends and with our guests and with our little family, man. So I appreciate those questions, and I hope that inspired you a little bit today.
I love that story. I think there's no perfect path to a relationship. Like people think we need to meet this way or that way or whatever. Like when Kat and I met in real life, we were both in relationships with other people. We were just like, we had a mutual admiration. The first time we met was the Noble Film Festival. We just had a mutual admiration of each other. We'd been social friends. I was a fan of hers. But there was no like romantic attraction. So like, I don't care if anybody listening, if you haven't found your partner, there is no perfect way.
No
All
way.
that matters is, there's no perfect way. Just all that matters is someday you end up in the room with the person. And maybe you've been in a room with them for years. I have friends that were friends for 12 years and then they started dating. They got married.
Wow.
Like, right. You just never know where the universe is going to take you. But I love the let your light shine. I also love your question that reached out to her. Like what's lighting your life on fire, or your heart on fire right now? I love this question. I ask people a lot of the time. Instead of the what do you do, I'm like, what's the most exciting thing in life right now? And just to hear then they get to talk about just something fun and amazing. And especially if it's somebody new, it just breaks the ice right away. And it's just a much more enjoyable conversation. And rarely will they ever say something to do with work. It's just something that they're more passionate about, or a family member, or their kids doing this, or they went here or saw this or something like that. So great questions. Yeah, great questions.
I love your passionate, man. Today's been really fun. I chatted about 2 weeks ago with Kelly Meredith, and he spoke very highly of you, the founder of Daughter, the beverage that your fiance is involved in. Tell me about the drink a little bit, and then let's circle back and kind of give people the logistics and the context. Yep. The logistics and the context about World Playground and how people can get involved.
Sure. Let's talk about this right away, because I see him on you have him on there as well. Kelly has become a very good friend. The first time I ever met Kelly, he had sold his company. I hadn't even met him. He had sold his company, and he's like, I'm about to hit retirement. I want to go do everything in the world. And I was in the Denver airport when he emailed us at World Playground, and then I just called him, and he's like, I'm free. Let's go. Brooks, he goes, I followed you, whatever. Let's send me everywhere. So we set him up with a safari, and he did trekking with the gorillas. And then he came with us on trips. So him and his wife just went on that. And then they came on our World Playground group trips. And he spent his 50th birthday with us in Iceland.
That's awesome.
And that was the first time we did this trip together. And I was like, oh, this guy, if you meet Kelly, he's physically fit, right? Like he's a giant of a man, big, strong guy. And then I was like, oh, but he's got the biggest heart in there. He's just got this like robust outer shell, and then he always says he's not a people person, and his wife will say that. He's like, Kelly always says he's not a people person. He's the biggest people person.
Oh yeah, I called him and he answered, and he happened to be in the car. And I mean, you meet somebody for the first time, it might be like a 12 to 15 minute conversation. He and I chopped it up for like 90 minutes, and we didn't even talk business. We just talked life and adventure.
Yeah. So it's how this drink, circling back to the drink. So Kelly and his wife came to Iceland with us and found a drink in Iceland that had collagen in it that Kelly really liked. And we were there for 8 days, and he had like a few more of these just kind of wellness drink. And he's like, man, we need this in the US. And so he got to know my fiance, Kat. And the more they talked about it, and then the collagen in it is a marine collagen from Iceland, and he's like, this is such a clean product. And Kelly had just sold his company, so he's like, what do I do next? I got all this energy. And then they just started channeling. They had some conversations, and they started channeling this idea of bringing a new drink similar to this one in Iceland to the US. And then they created this wonderful drink called Daughter. On Instagram, it's @drinkdaughter, and it's got marine collagen in it, 7 grams of marine collagen, no added sugar. Vitamin C in it.
Hold that up real quick. I'm going to send him a text right now. I told him you were hopping on the pod today. I love it. So
good. This for me is my afternoon superpower. So it has 100 milligrams of caffeine in it. In the morning, I'll train really hard. I'll hike our dog. We'll train hard. I'll be in meetings, whatever. By like 2 in the afternoon, sometimes I could feel like just a little dip in my energy. Just a little dip, and I still got 3.5, 4 hours to go. And usually I'll do a social media live later in my day, so I need energy. And so I'll go to the fridge. It's only 100 milligrams of caffeine. I'll grab one of these, and it's just a little. You just feel a little nudge. It's not a spike. It's not a cup of coffee. It's not a jolt. It's just a little pick me up but it's got collagen in it, other health benefits. And so huge advocate of the drink. Obviously my fiance and Kelly are involved in it, but they also have a caffeine-free version. So on days when I'm like, oh, I'm humming, I don't need a little bump, I'll just have the caffeine-free version, but it's my afternoon like secret weapon. And I see you've got multiple on your desk there.
Oh, these are good.
Really super clean. Yeah, I love
also
it.
Also, big fan of collagen, man.
Wellness
Like,
drink.
Yeah, it's great. I wish in my younger days that I used collagen more consistently, because like as you get
Joints,
older, man,
hair.
like joints, skin, hair, nails, like those are things that take priority. And now practicing beef tallow on the face and sauna and ice, like I want to stay young, man. I don't want to age. I want to age gracefully.
Everybody does. So yeah, instead of just drinking don't drink a Red Bull laced with sugar or Monster, something like that. Like this is a sparkling wellness drink. And when they created this, when they said sparkling wellness drink, I'm like, ooh, because I like sparkling water. Most people do. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you really got my attention with sparkling wellness drinks. So yeah, anybody out there, just go to Instagram, go to @drinkdaughter, and then you can order it. They come in different flavors, and you can order caffeine or caffeine free, but very proud of what they're building. Kelly is a mover and shaker. He creates circumstance in the world. And I love that he's building community around it. He's doing a lot of High Rocks events. He's building community around wellness, pursuit of a better life, health, right? And just incorporating this drink in it. So big fan of what he and my fiance and their whole team are doing with Drink Daughter.
Yeah, dude. Well, let's hear about World Playground. How can people get more involved? How can people sign up? And tell me about what's going on with the website. Where I saw that you did a press release and it like blew up, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. We're doing something really fun. So I've been fortunate last 7.5 years to travel the world. I've had so many amazing experiences, Bryce. I want those for everybody. And I'm a new father now. I tell my daughter, you ask my fiance this, I tell my daughter every day, I'm going to take you everywhere. Everywhere. I have my adventure. I have my fiance, soon to be wife, and we have our daughter. Like those are my adventure buddies for life. I want to take them everywhere on the planet. And I want the same thing for every other father, for every other mother, for every other parent, grandparent. I took my mom to summit Kilimanjaro. Like we hiked Kilimanjaro simply because I could afford to do it. Our website, worldplayground.co, removes all commissions, markups, inflated prices from every hotel, cruise, travel insurance. We'll soon have flights on there. Every single travel product on our website, we give you purely the cost of that travel product as we, the travel agency, get it for, without ever adding a single cent of commission to it. We are the only company in the world, only travel company in the world that never adds or keeps a single cent of a commission on any travel booking that you make on our website. Our mission is to bring the cost of your travel down to as low as humanly possible. That is our mission. Every other travel company is trying to increase commissions to drive up profits. Our website is free for everybody in the world to use. And our mission is to compete on your behalf to bring the cost of travel down to as low as possible so we can get you to your next unforgettable memory with the people that you love the most. And that is my pursuit every day. And it is so fun. Man, it is so fun to make the world more affordable and bring memories in it back within reach for people. Mm-hmm. And so what we're doing is groundbreaking. There's no company in the world doing this. We're the only one that never charges or keeps a single cent of commission. And we make the world more affordable and available for travelers and families everywhere. And it's free for the entire world to use.
That's incredible, man. What an honorable pursuit and super cool. It sounds similar to, there's a company called Christian Health Ministries, and they kind of do that for a version of health insurance where they negotiate with the hospitals to remove all additional add-on costs and get it at cost. And it sounds relatively similar in concept. And I think it's incredible that companies like you do this because memories are so important to the human experience. In the deathbed conversations where we started this podcast with my parents didn't talk about working more. They talked about memories. They talked about our camping trips. They talked about travel and love and seeing different perspectives and different communities and different people around the globe. And I just think what you're doing is so cool, man. And I can't wait to get home and tell my wife all about it so we can we can get involved and we can join you on one of these treks and build some memories with you.
It's big trips, but it's also just, you guys want a hotel in the next town over for a concert next weekend. You need a one-night hotel. You want to take a cruise. You want a family reunion. You travel for business. Doesn't matter. The use case is endless. Anybody who moves from A to B, the website helps save you money. And all we ask is just price comparison. Right now, we like on average, prices on our website on hotel rooms are on average 18.3% lower than the next lowest price online. Not just lower than one website, lowest than the next lowest price online, simply because we don't add a single cent of commission. That just says that the inverse of that is every other website averages on about 18% commission on your hotel room. Mm-hmm. We just make the world as affordable as possible. This is me honoring my dad and my mom. My dad always said, my dad is the fairest man on the planet. The fairest man on the planet. And he always said, fun is the last thing that families can afford to spend money on. Rent, mortgage, healthcare, school, bills, clothes. Fun is the last thing that families can afford to spend money on. And going back to our conversation earlier, I saw my dad do, it's more of what I saw my dad do than what he ever told me. I saw him bring less fortunate families golfing with us, water skiing with us, fishing with us. Later on, brought them to my hockey games. Never asked for a single thing. Paid all the expenses, brought them. He's like, fun. Families can't afford fun. Some families can't afford fun. And this is what we're doing with World Playground, is just hopefully carrying on that mission in a broader sense, that we're reaching outside of our just literal community into the world to make fun. When you boil it down, our mission is to make fun more affordable.
Sure.
For travelers and families everywhere. That is the whole purpose of World Playground, to make fun more affordable. That's why we remove every single cost of commission. That's why we never charge that. And we just make the world as affordable as possible so that you can experience the best memories of your life with the people you love. And going back to my mission in life was to inspire people. And if my mission, and the way to do that is through travel and adventure and creating memories. And if World Playground and myself can be a small part of the best memories of Bryce's life, that for me is a very rewarding mission. So that's what our company tries to do. Yes, we're a travel booking platform. I say we're a memory company because we want to get you to your next unforgettable memory with the people you love. The way that we do it is our booking platform that removes all these commissions to make that memory as affordable as possible, so that it's more likely that you're going to have it, rather than it being out of reach because you can't afford it.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. I love the passion and the enthusiasm behind it. How do you guys make that happen on the platform? Like, how do you guys make money? Is it through advertising? Is it through working with companies? Like, how do you guys make that work from the creative business side of things?
Yeah, we never profit directly off the travel. We don't. So our mission will never profit off of you, the traveler. We will monetize the site. I'm financing the entire project. We monetize the site through travel service providers. So we have people from 47 different countries using our website. It's World Playground. It's going everywhere in the world. Mm-hmm. And that large base of travelers, of people coming to our website to book on our website, because we have the lowest prices on the internet, because we don't ever charge commission. We don't profit off of you, the traveler. That attracts more and more and more travelers, giving us a huge travel community, which then resorts, cruise lines, airlines, destinations, like, that's where the travelers are. Let's get our property featured in front of those travelers, and then they can pay us to advertise. And we hand select those partners. We choose the ones that add the most value to the community, the reputable ones that we trust, and we will allow them to advertise on our platform. Like I said, it is a platform built by travelers, not built by travelers for travelers, not built by a corporation for profit. So this is here to serve you. I am a traveler. Look behind me. These are all travel books. Mm-hmm. I am a traveler. We built a platform to serve other travelers. And then we monetize from travel service providers, never from the traveler.
Genius, dude. Genius. Today was fun. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for chopping it up with me. That was a good time.
Dude, we could keep going. We're 2 hours plus. We could keep going.
I know. That was awesome.
A whole day.
No, your little one's behind you and wants to play for sure. Where did I surprise you today? What kind of perked your eyebrows a little bit in our conversation?
Similar paths, very much similar paths. I think we have similar struggles that we could have even gotten deeper into.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm a few years further down the road than you, just being 6 years older than you.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have very much surprised me in navigating in a quicker pace through waters that took me a longer time to do. You had the lessons that we talked about today took me so long to learn, and you had a very good understanding of them, having walked through that fire yourself, which for me, I don't get to encounter a lot. I don't get to encounter a lot of people that speak a similar language, that know a pursuit and know a death to that pursuit, and then a rediscovery, and then a ramp up into that. And you are now living your mission with this podcast and the community, the ecosystem you're building with Allsmith. So to see somebody else that has such an in-depth understanding was very surprising to me.
Cool,
rather than somebody who just talks about it.
Yeah. There's a big one there.
Thing.
I appreciate you sharing that. Our newsletter that we released yesterday was don't ghost your life. Like, have the hard conversation, send the text, take the first step. You may not be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but be an active participant, not just a consumer. And it was basically just kind of talking about modern behavior, how so many people, are looking at the story, but it's like, book the trip. Like, take the step, take the leap, and trust that your wings will find a way to unfold over the course of time. And if they don't, you'll have a phenomenal lesson to learn. And so today was beautiful, man. I appreciate your time and your energy. Where can people find you, and where can people sign up for a trip with your company?
On social media at Brooks Laich. My last name is Laich, pronounced just like Like, but Brooks Laich on any social. And then at World Playground on any social, or worldplayground.co. And again, it's not just for big trips. It's for, you have kids in youth sports and you need a hotel room for the tournament on the weekend. Great, we got you. You need a family reunion on a cruise. Great, we got you. You want the dream honeymoon? Great, we got you. Everywhere from high-end luxury to budget conscious, everywhere in between. We try and serve every traveler all the time. Worldplayground.co, at World Playground, at Brooks Laich, or come to Idaho, come visit.
Love it, man. Ladies and gentlemen, the world is your playground. Thanks for tuning into our conversation today. And as always, stay on the hunt for who you've not yet become. Till next time.